Welcome to the Sandler Training Hour. You're with your hosts, Jim and Jason Stevens. And Jim, tomorrow we'll be going down to the Western Regional. We'll be presenting a little bit, or I should say, I will be presenting. And I thought it'd be fun to talk about the basics premise of this talk, which is the question, do you buy your own bullshit? And the underlying thought I have here is that there is a difference between buying your own bullshit and selling it to yourself. And I think that a lot of the core of what we talk about within Sandler is that people need help buying, but they don't want to be sold to.
Yeah.
And so the underlying question there then is when it comes to mindset or attitude, what are we doing? And which piece is the bullshit that we're selling to ourselves?
Yeah, I think
So,
it's a great topic, and I'm good at sales, and the easiest person to sell is me.
yeah.
So I have an internal rule that says pick your delusion and run with it. And I think that's what most of us do in life. And I think having the the wherewithal, the situational awareness, the personal transparency, emotional intelligence to be able to first hear the bullshit you're selling yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's a monumental gap.
Yeah, because the real problem is when we start selling it to ourselves. Like that's where, this is when you start giving yourselves your own objections and then accepting them.
Yeah.
This is where you close yourself on why you can't change. This is like it's all the reasons on why the thing that I want to do is better left till tomorrow and not started today. And
Yeah.
so the overall question that I'm posing to the group isn't whether or not we can do something about it. The question is, why is it so easy to do this?
Yeah.
And it's a biological phenomenon. And the problem is that if you think about our body, 2% of our body weight is in our brain, but the brain also consumes 20% of the calories. And thinking is just metabolically expensive. The cheaper thing to do is making assumptions. So we talk about the default neural network that's in our brain, which is where assumptions get made. And this is the autopilot activity because your brain actively discourages you being aware because awareness costs fuel. If you think about this related to any sort of autopilot, the one that is the easiest accessible is driving home or driving to work when you have an errand to run. Have you ever had the objective of running an errand on the way from or to somewhere and you ended up at the location instead of the errand? And it's not a character flaw, it's the default setting of the brain.
Yeah.
That when we're doing something that we normally do, we skip thinking about it because awareness costs energy and the body is trying to, save any energy that it has.
Yeah.
So I really think I latch onto this metaphor of sledding related to what we run into when it comes to issues, because the thing we want to create is friction that stops the autopilot from happening. So if you think about sales, then the thing I would think of is what is the autopilot that you run into or that you have easiest access to? Because if you're sledding down a hill, the first time you sled down it, it's really like walking through deep snow. If it's powder, you're clumping down in certain areas, you're sort of figuring out how this run is going to work.
Yeah.
Maybe the 10th time you're actually starting to get some level of momentum, so it's becoming more fun to climb up the hill to sled down the hill. But the first time it was difficult and you're figuring out what it's going to be like. The 1000th time you're on a bobsled run. There's no
Yeah.
stopping it. There's no friction at all. It is packed snow. It is compacted to the form of the sled. So if you think about that gap between the friction of going down something the first time and going through it the 1000th time, this is where the amateur or the new person excels, but the amateur gets stuck in a trap. So think about the objection of like, well, I'm interested in this, but I'd like a discount. the new person doesn't know if they can give a discount or not. So
Yeah.
they're going to hold the line to some degree of maybe, well, I'm not sure if I can do that. I'll have to talk to someone. And that's not them explicitly saying no, but it's putting friction in the conversation. The amateur salesperson who's very comfortable with the question, well, I'd like a discount, does their autopiloted thing. And in a lot of cases, that autopiloted thing is to give the discount. Like I have a friend who told me, there are some people, he thinks that most people want discounts, so he factors into all of his proposals 10% that he can discount. Which is like, okay, in some scenarios, I can see how that's valuable, but why not just hold the line to some degree because you're allowing a lot of, but it's the autopilot that he's created for themselves. So
Right.
if you apply that to sales and especially sales scripts, the sales script that you're going through is the sled, and that sled can be in your benefit or against it. So the good ones are useful, but still we want to get to a point where we can create friction in a moment because you can't outthink the sled while you're going down. If you're going down a bobsled run, there's no quick moment where you can think, oh, this is an adjustment that I'll make.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you think about like even an amusement park ride, like you can think this is stressful, but chances are you're not forming full sentences during that stress. There's no friction for the experience for your mind to consider an alternative.
And once you're on the ride, hold on because there's no getting off it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so if you think about this whole concept and that idea of the friction that we want to introduce into moments related to Sandler as a process, this is why attitude is so important because attitude is the bobsled track that you're dealing with. And if you don't examine that bobsled track, you don't know what the implication is. But the reality is this, our clients, we need friction. We need something that slows us down because the brain's really trying to autopilot experiences. And we all know this to a certain degree. Like if you're dealing with a new prospect, but they remind you of an old prospect, or if you've been through 5 sales calls in one day, that fifth sales call is not as bright and chipper as the first one. There's just a bit of autopilot that's coming in. And
I,
so, go ahead.
I think one of the challenges that we face here is stagnation brought on by routine.
Yeah.
And specifically speaking to those listeners who don't have a learning community where you're challenging yourself, you're in your own head, you're in your own silo, and everything you do is built around what you know to be true, though what you know to be true may not be.
Yeah.
And the thing about the Sandler process that is both jarring and transformative is that every week you're in a training session with additional learners who are going through similar issues, sharing their challenges, and you're there thinking, I need to deal with that because that's something that. So, what the question I would ask is, what is the catalyst in your life that's causing you to face your own comfort zone issues and push yourself out to recognize what is my own bullshit? Because if I'm in a vacuum, it's not bullshit, it's reality. I
Yeah.
can't change reality.
Yeah, and that's where the final question is like if you wanted to put your bullshit on a platter, the most likely thing that you're going to be looking at is all of the reasons why now is not the right time to make a change. That's it, because your brain's protecting itself. And so introducing friction, like really what you want to become is a friction engineer, someone who creates friction in all aspects of their life in order to get better results with what they're aiming to do and what their intentions are.
Yeah.
So if you think about what the fix is, and this is what I would challenge the listeners, the fix isn't a dramatic shift, nor is it some sort of broad commitment. It's take one thing and then create a 45-second, what I would say is a devotional, but we use the language of an upfront contract with yourself that you can read every day so that you're not hoping you wake up with a good attitude, but you're setting your intentions at the beginning on the day on what you want. And then once you have this, stand up, say it out loud every day, every morning, be clear on your intentions, and have this intention setting be the thing that creates friction that disjars you from autopiloting into hoping that your day goes well. Because let's face it, depending on the day of the week, you could probably tell me when you start being aware. Most people are chasing fires until maybe 10, maybe 11, and then they're slowing down, and then awareness sets in, and then they're looking at what they want to do, what they need to do, and then sometime later in the afternoon, fires start again.
Yeah.
But it's that gap between when you start your day and when you enter awareness that you need to close, and you close it by creating friction, which forces you to be more attentive to what's going on in your world.
Yeah. The problem with firefighting is it feels effective.
Yeah.
It feels like, boy, I accomplished something. I was able to tackle that. But what Jason is suggesting is creating friction in the morning creates the environment where instead of playing the role of the firefighter, you're being the preventative fire marshal. And you've already walked through the traps that are likely to be sprung on you. And that gives you an awareness into your own uh, propensity to buy your own bullshit.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, with that, we'll say the final word here is don't buy your own bullshit, and whatever you do, stop selling it to yourself. And
Yeah.
that's us with Sandler Training. If you're curious about more about who we are and what we do, reach out to us. I'll say sorry for swearing if you've made it this long and you're feeling annoyed. We don't often do it. And this word is just an easy one to repeatedly say. But thanks for your time. Good luck out there.